Welcome to Integrative Preparedness. I'm Steve Smith. I apologize for my throat. I'm still dealing with this junk that everybody's got, but at least I have some new audio technology here today. My sound tech laid out some wire here on the table that he says will help because people said I was hard to hear. My kids would be surprised to hear that I'm hard to hear, but I know that I talk softly on these videos. Today I want to talk about the three enemies. I taught martial arts and combatives and defensive tactics for a long time. And whenever I started a new class or a seminar or whatever, I explained to the people that in an attack situation, they were going to be dealing with essentially three enemies. The first one is confusion, the second is fear, and the third is the attacker itself. The reason for this is because most people don't live lives that in which they're used to being attacked. So when it happens, it happens outside their understanding of normalcy. And it causes kind of a mental shutdown. They think this can't be happening, it can't be happening to me, it can't be happening right now. And so their response is delayed and ineffective at best. The second is when they realize finally what's going on, or when they mentally accept what's going on, and they realize that they're not going to be able to respond effectively, and they're going to come out of it pretty badly. Fear can set in, and that can have a debilitating effect on their ability to respond also. It can freeze them, or at least not allow them to mount a proper and effective response. And when they're dealing with those first two, that attacker essentially has them outnumbered. They're fighting 3 to 1. I explained to the people that used to go in my classes, the purpose of training is to address those first two enemies. We address the confusion by simply understanding, accepting the fact that something can happen to us, and then hopefully going beyond that and actually expecting it to. And that's what I used to tell my people. Don't just realize that it can happen, expect it to. Take it to the point to where you're surprised when you get home at the end of the day without being attacked. And people will say, well, I don't want to live a life in fear. That sounds horrible. Well, I don't live a life in fear, and neither does anyone else who's prepared. Being ready is not being afraid. So that's the first thing. You train yourself, you train your mind, you come to an understanding that the world can be a dangerous place, that bad things can happen at any time, any place, and they can happen to you, and that it's your responsibility to prepare yourself to be able to deal with it. Okay. The second part, the fear, usually comes from a person knowing that they don't know what to do, and that's where training comes in. We're not going to be going into that here in this because that's not our purpose. But training and experience are the two things that really allow us to cut out those first two enemies and then be left with only one enemy to deal with, and that's the situation, the attacker, or the situation themselves. Preparedness is the same thing. In situations to where catastrophes happen, just talk to the people around and they'll tell you how confusing it was. They didn't know what was happening. They didn't know what to do, because it was so outside their normal lives. And it's natural. It's a natural response. This is where preparedness comes into play. Starting to be prepared. First mentally, understanding these things can happen. Anything can happen, to turn your world upside down. And it is your responsibility and no one else's to make sure that you're able to deal with that. When you've accepted that, then you go to the next step and you start to prepare. And of course that's what we're doing in this series and in preparedness generally. You start to prepare and giving yourself those things that you're going to need to be able to respond effectively to an emergency situation. As you develop your ability to do that, as you get more of the preps that we'll be talking about, the food and the water, and later we'll be talking about weapons, as you increase your ability to deal with the emergency, your fear will go down. Now, there's some people that just don't know enough to be afraid, and there's nothing that we can do about them. But a rational person would know in a life-threatening situation that fear is a rational response, and it's only through preparation, understanding, training, and readiness that you'll be able to deal with that. So we're going to go into the next one. I'm going to start keeping these things just a little bit shorter. We're going to go into the dynamics and of an attack situation, and I'm going to explain how that relates also to situations that we would want to be prepared for in the environment around us. But for now, I'm going to stop this. I forgot today to bring my books out here and let you know, but we'll be putting the links down there. And I want to thank everybody who keeps on sending me emails and suggestions for questions and things like that. I'm just getting a bunch, and they're great. Lessons from Stonemont is going to be another future video. And you'll see how some of these things that we're putting together, you'll see these lessons written about in the books, the Reversion and the Revival. So I'll stop it for now. And the next one, we'll do a quick one on the dynamics of attacks and how that relates to preparedness. So until then, we might just do that in a few minutes, so we'll see. Thank you for being here. I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Bye-bye.